Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome. So we've got some images to go through. We've got Prisha by Kat to talk about. But first, I wanted to answer this question from Adrian. So you asked about compositing on animated films and also wondering about the colorist's role. So they're kind of two different things. So compositing is obviously taking your shot from the render phase into the final look of it. So in terms of compositing on animated films, and again, this is just from my personal experience, not from every studio out there. I don't know everybody's workflow. But from my experience, the lighting artist does the entire compositing process. You know, we break out the layers, we put them back together, we do all the compositing elements and render out the final look of the shot. There are more experienced compositors at studios that will do some more elaborate things like projections and actually adding other elements. But every lighter is expected to know how to take a simple shot from start to finish. Now, coloring and color, and I think because you're talking about like color grading and the colorist role, that's all done on every film that I've worked on. That's done out of the studio. So we will package up the film and send it to the colorist. Are usually the directors, art directors, supervisors, and a handful of people from the studio that are in charge of the look of the film will go out and kind of oversee the process and be there to talk about the final desired look. And then what ends up happening is the colorist, they'll work with the colorist to make anywhere from, it's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of like 15 to 20 different versions of the film. Because you need to do one for digital projectors and film projectors and DVD and stereo DVD and all the different, streaming and all the different ways that things are shown changes the color a little bit. And so they have to go through that and make sure that what you're looking at is best. The big one is like stereo because you wear essentially sunglasses when you watch that and it takes the color way down. So they usually crank the saturation and the light of for stereo prints. But in terms of knowing that, it's great to know, but it's not essential to know how to color grade things to be a lighting artist. It's not something that comes up in your day-to-day responsibilities. It's very cool to know, and I'm sure it'll help you establish your eye. But in terms of needing to know that in order to get a job, I don't know how to do that. if that means anything. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please let me know. All right, so let's jump into cats here. So we've got these elements. So I kind of want to talk about each individual render first. So it looks like we've got, so we've got sky elements here with more key light and more kind of bounce fill in here. So one thing about the skylight that I found concerning was that it's much more like it's not casting any shadows. Like I'm not seeing any shadows being cast here on the ground from the plants or like down underneath her. And it feels like it's kind of like I see self-shadowing in some of these places, but not any sort of cast shadows. And the skylight would cast shadows. So I would just make sure that that's on because it's just kind of like permeating underneath the leaves. It's just kind of everywhere a little bit flatly and uniformly. So that's going to make your look dev on that an uphill struggle. This key light looks pretty good. Again, it's a little bit brighter in this region than it is right around her, and we'd want to shift that a little bit to kind of make sure that the focus is right in here. And then from the fill lights, and this is more bounce light, but like I see a lot of it up underneath her and in this region here. And this would be a separate pass, but it'd be cool to get some caustic reflections from the water up into the scene too. So let's talk about piecing these together. So this is with like no corrections or anything. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to decrease I just kind of decreased the overall contribution of this and also cooled it off a little bit. Because like if this is, obviously this is just like for mock-up purposes, but like if this is kind of our sky color, that would influence the color of the scene. So I kind of want to pair those two up a little bit. And then in terms of the key light, I wanted to brighten that and push that warmer. I want to play off that, I want to push more color into the shot, because right now it's feeling a little like neutral and gray, and I really kind of want to get that in there. And then in terms of the bounce values, I just took those down a little bit because they're a little bit strong in there. Maybe I went a little bit too far, but just back up. Weird. Okay. But I think that those are a little strong. So I could just tone those down just a touch, kind of more into that region there. And then overall, I wanted to push it brighter because I really want to feel the warmth of it. And then I just added a little, like, this isn't how I would add glow, but like just a little mock up here. So I'm thinking like this contrast level is good, like pushing the warms and the key light and the cools of the fill lights and the skylight would be good. And comparing this to, let's see, was this from, yeah, I think this was from yesterday. This is from yesterday. I think this was from yesterday. So comparing these two, so again, like you really want to feel the brightness of the key light on her face. You want to make sure that that's warm. You want, and again, like if you just kind of like squint at it, my eye kind of starts to shift down here a little bit. We want that up closer around her, so she's really in the pocket of light. And then I want to talk about these leaves over here a little bit. So you provided some really great reference of these different types of plants. And, one of the things that we're really seeing is looking at the color of the translucency and the light passing through the leaf. It's really pretty. Another thing I really wanted to look at was like, how are these looking down here in the shadows? And now I want to compare that to like what we're seeing in our image here. So one of the things is that we're not really like looking at these shadowed areas. Let's see if I can find that one again. Like looking at this versus this, like these shadowed areas are getting a little bit darker. There's not as much variation in them. Like you can still see there's some shaping in like a light side and a dark side. I think we could work some more shaping into these so they're not quite so flat. Also, these feel much more yellow. And I know I created more blue values in here, but like, but it might be an opportunity to add a little bit more of that in there as well. And then also the one thing I want to point out is like when you have something that's lush and dense like this, you'll notice that the outside gets hit with a lot of light. And then as we go towards the core of it, it gets much darker. So like if this were being hit with light, maybe we could see this in some other areas, like it would be all on the outside, but then the inner core of it would be getting a little bit more of this like darkness in there. And then in terms of like the key side, again, yeah, like we really want to see this subsurface scattering coming through, and I'm not really seeing it on any of the plants, and just kind of getting that warmth really permeating through that would be really nice. And then looking at like the warmth on the stems of these trees too, like the way that kind of that warm light just kind of permeates into their core as well. It would be really cool. So yeah, so I think like keep looking at this reference, try and make yours in the keylit areas match this as well as you can. Really focus in on this translucency. It makes such a big difference. On these type of plants. These plants down here I think are a little bit thicker in their leaves. You can check some reference on that, but I think they're okay. But it's really getting these palms to feel right, which will be the real challenge for you. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, I just want to keep pushing the warms in the keys, the cools of the fills, getting some more of that yellow translucency through the plants when they're in the key light, finding an opportunity to get more shaping in the fill, and then like this will come later. I was kind of holding off on this note, but like just getting some caustic bounce light eventually from here back up into the scene, because like sunlight hitting it, you'll get some kind of warbly lights up in there. All right, so let's take a look at some other images. We'll go back to front today. So Will, this looks great. I would be very happy with it. A few things to check. Just make sure that we're not getting penetration down here between the cape and the ground. It looks like it's getting jammed down in there a little bit, so just double check that. I would like to see a little bit more specularity in the wings, but it's not. It's fine. Like it's a pretty dusty image overall, so I think that's okay. But for me, I would just want to see a little bit more variation in there. These posts look a lot better. They're much less distracting. And then in terms of his key value, like all this looks good on his face. I wonder if we don't want to get like a little bit more value in there, like a little bit more around his eye. But I think it's okay. I think it's fine, especially for the sinister nature of the character. But I think this looks really good overall. I think this whole thing really feels like one cohesive image. Like I know lots of times when you're grabbing, a character, like a different character from a different environment, it kind of starts to feel disjointed. But you've done a really nice job of making that all kind of flow together nicely. All right, Pearl, welcome to the lighting challenge. So lots of good sushi reference. I haven't eaten anything yet today, so this is killing me right now. So I'm gonna take this off the screen. But one of the things about this rice is like really getting a depth to it and really getting that feeling of light coming through here. Again, this is the fill side, but like look at the light kind of passing through there. So with that, it would be really cool to kind of get some more of that light penetrating in here and really kind of warming up a little bit. So with your setup, it's like we've got a spotlight coming down here, but I'm like it's really tight on them. And because I'm not seeing it really affecting anything else in the shot because it's just like so narrowly focused on them. I think for me, it would be better if it was like a little bit of a larger pocket and it could kind of like hit up, like make like rim lights on this thing, kind of hit a little bit more down around here to get a little more shaping and just create an overall pocket of light. Now for this firework, I'm wondering how this is playing in to the shot because I guess if they're underneath it just feels like they would be looking at it as opposed to looking the opposite way. And then I guess this light too, I'm not quite sure. This feels like a spotlight, not in the terms of the CG light, like an actual overhead light above them. It doesn't feel like a firework if that was the intention, I guess is what I'm saying. If it was a firework, it would feel much bigger, broader. And that being said, I'm not sure how the fireworks are playing into the look of the shot. Because they're not really affecting the foreground unless that was the intention of this one. And then for the row themselves, let's see. I guess there really is. I guess if we were looking for something more like this, you'd want them to have like that central light bulb glow and then like kind of glowy softness around the edge. I feel like there's a halo around it, but like the edge itself is still a little firm. And then I just want to see some more interaction with them on the environment, like. It seems like it's only kind of hitting just in the immediate surroundings. Like I feel like it would throw light further than that. But yeah, this is a good start. You got everything set up. Oh, watch out for the depth of field or something going on here on these edge. Because like he's very sharp. This is out of focus. Then back behind it is sharp again. So just something to be aware of on the lookout for down the road. All right, Kevin. Good updates. Really cool reference. Love these shapes in this. It's really fun. So in terms of these lights, I think they're doing good. I like that I like it up here. The one thing about this is like this feels like it's like this makes sense because it's inside the house, and this makes sense because it's inside the house. But this just feels like it's glowing for glowing's sake, and also we're getting a lot of light from it that almost feels like it's being emanated from outside of the house. Like these totally make sense. I would kill this one and allow that to go into a little bit. Like, do you see how there's just like smaller pockets in here, and like large areas over here are kind of in more darkness. Yours kind of has this like overall haze on it, which doesn't allow the opportunity for some of these areas to go into the dark values to allow those brighter places to kind of pop out. Again, still love the display on this of just like coming across here and just getting him with that. What I can only describe as a derpy face. It's just like, doop. It's very good. And then I think I'm wondering if we can't get a little more glow out of this light over here, just to make it feel a little bit more mystical, a little more special, especially since we've established that there's so much moisture in the air over here. I think you could push that a little stronger in that region. But this is really good. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right, Horje. So good stuff. I like the overall darkness over top of this. I'm wondering, and this is totally up to you. I'm wondering if we can't, because like, what it is the depth of field made me think of this. But I'm wondering if we can't push the camera in further, because it does feel like we've taken a large step back, and kind of, seeing the scene as a whole. But at the same time, like, the only thing that's occupying really over like this, like, I would say this is about 60% of the image, is really just that guy. And if that's not, essential to the story, I would really kind of push in. That would create an opportunity, because the camera's closer to the subject matter, to create more depth of field. That would allow us to kind of focus in on some of this stuff. And again, this whole thing was designed to be like little vignettes around it, right? You don't have to take it all in at once. You can do multiple shots. You can ignore large chunks of it and allow them just to like fall into the background. But I would encourage you to try that. In terms of the look itself, you're doing a better job of getting the pockets in here. It's just at this point, what we want to see is more shaping on these characters and a little bit more of a sense of the source of the light. So like just looking at this guy, like, he's getting hit by something bright, and I'm not like, if it was like an off-camera spotlight, I would feel a little bit of the light coming in here or something, and then yeah. So I would work on that, and then like this could be interesting here, because this looks like, I'm just noticing this, like there's green light shining up underneath them. Like that could be a fun little one, or this area, or this, whatever's going on with the blue light up there at the top. In terms of these, like, these cucumbers feel very blue, and they should feel a little bit more greenish too. So a few different ways we can go, but I would like to see you try and experiment with pushing your camera in a little closer and just kind of focusing in on one of the vignettes or a couple of them, and really kind of just like really getting in there and playing with that lighting a little bit. Jordan looking much better. I think this looks great over here. Face looks a lot softer. I think that's a little bit bright, especially because we're not seeing the brightness on the hair. But other than that, I feel like this is you're in a really, really good spot here. So yeah, really good job. And maybe just a little bit more brightness on the lamp. I'm just looking at that. Like, maybe that could get just a touch brighter. All right, Donika. Yes. So your question about ambient occlusion and a translucent object with something like this. So as you can see, there really isn't any here. So the first step would be just to determining whether or not additional contact shadow is necessary. From the look that you're trying to achieve. If you decide that there is, and you want to ground it a little bit more, what I would do, there's a few ways that you can do this, but the goal is that, like with ambient occlusion, anytime that you have white like this, nothing's going to change about it. So our goal is to make the object itself, make sure that is white, and then just like make sure that there's a little bit underneath. So the way that you can do that, you can either have everything else with an ambient occlusion shader on, and then just make the row themselves have just a solid white shader, so that they don't get, so they don't actually absorb the ambient occlusion. So it's just a matter of just putting different shaders on them. The other way that you can do it is you can cut them out of the scene, like use the row as an alpha. And then what would happen is, and by cutting them out, I mean just like turning off their primary visibility so they can still like cast the ambient occlusion on the ground. What you would get is an image in the comp that would have black where the row would be. Just layer that over white, and then all of a sudden it's white again. But you still have like, because that alpha would be cut out because you cut out this region, but you would still get the black shadow underneath it there. I would probably go that first for iteration, but the key is that you don't want to affect the color of the translucent object, because occlusion would not affect that. You just want to get some of the areas underneath it. And like you can see here, like one way of, you could use the occlusion to push more of this color bleed. You don't necessarily need to do it as shadow. Like that would be something else too. It's just like that could be a fun use of the translucent object, is using it to actually increase or add more color to it, if you wanted to go that way. So I hope that helps, but let me know if you still have questions. Adrian, this looks great. Yeah, I think I would call this one done. And if you're cool with it, I want to throw this in the Hall of Fame for this character. So just let me know if you want to, if you have a reason to re-render it or something else you want to do. But this looks really great. Really, really good job. All right, Aaron. Oh yeah. All right. So we got Aaron. We got the two Aarons and then Amy. Yeah, I still think that we could get something more light on this character, the front side of this character's face. Again, the way that we're seeing the light here and rolling off here, I just want to get a little bit more diffusion, a little more diffuse value on the front side of his face to kind of roll it off. Because again, like if you squint, my eyes are going here, my eyes are going here, and I really want it to be in this region here. So it might be a matter of just toning these down and pushing those up. I think you can go a little brighter on the hits on this carrot structure, just to create a little more shaping on that. But those would be my couple of big notes there. So more light on him, a little bit toning down on these guys, and getting some more shaping on that carrot guy back there. Aaron, we got your before and after. So really great progress. I love what's going on here with the table itself that they're resting upon. Like it just looks so much better. The color's very pretty. Everything's kind of lining up a lot better. The biggest thing that I would do if I was you would be pushing these white values on their legs, on their arms, on their wrists, and on his face of these foreground characters brighter. We just want to read them as being like they're a little gray, a little dusty. Just take all of their whites and just boost them a little bit in the comp. Everything except maybe even like this, maybe in this guy too, because that shader looks great. Like that shader being played off the light a little bit looks really, really good. Let's just see a little bit more brightness. Yeah, that's kind of clipping out in the brights, but I think it looks. Pretty good. Let's see. I think just like a little bit more value in there really does help out a lot. But yeah, but like doing something like that level of boost to all the whites, especially on these conga line foreground characters, would be really, really good. Yeah, I would do that and we'll see where we land there. Amy, it's looking really pretty. Like it's looking really great. Yeah, this looks nice. It's more grounded in there. Got that there. I maybe try sprinkling a touch of this pink light in here, just like on this side, because I think it looks really pretty. But yeah, maybe take down the saturation on that. But I think this is all looking really good. I don't really have any other notes. Yeah, now I'm just searching for stuff. Just some little things, and I think this is a really, 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 really strong piece. So, sorry to make you wait until the end and to just tell you that you've done a great job, but hopefully that's a rewarding experience for you. But yeah, so that's it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday today. Happy lighting, everybody.